Welcome back, dear friends. It's 2023. Excellent. Hope you had a good Christmas or festive season or whatever else. I've been very busy, as always, never a dull moment, but I have to say, not much has changed at all, if anything. But, dear friends, I did find a lovely new hobby over Christmas, which meant I could actually spend time with the family watching Christmas films and having a lovely time. It was to finish building 2 technical Lego kits that have been floating around for ages, and then to take them all apart again and put all the bits in bags and put them back in the boxes so I can build them again another time. It's brilliant. It's almost, if not more, enjoyable to take them apart and to sort them all the little bits out into the different types and used to put them together in the first place. So that's very exciting. Kept me occupied and off the streets and, as I say, with the family. I did manage to spend some time rewriting, improving the timing on the Arduino sketch that plays when I'm singing Windows or any other type of music. And I got it perfect. Let's talk timing, dear friends. How did I get it to sound so much better? Well, there's 2 ways of timing in Arduinos and sketches. There are 2 functions. One is the delay function, and one is the millis function. Both very useful in different ways. Now the delay function, have a nice analogy. The delay function is, let's think of some job for me to do. I know, I will need to go and spray some plastic, some gauges or something, and the paint dries 20 minutes and it needs several coats. So I go and spray it, I come back and I get one of these and I set this to 20 minutes. There we are, 20 minutes set, and then I sit and I twiddle my thumbs, like so, twiddling thumbs, until this goes off. And then I know that the paint's dry, so I go back and I'll give it another coat, a second coat, and I'll come back and I'll set this for 20 minutes again, and I'll sit and twiddle my thumbs. Now that is very boring. I don't like watching paint dry, and I don't like watching glue dry for that matter. So that's not good. That's the delay version. Now the second way of doing it, which is much better for this sort of thing, is to use millis, the millis function. And that is as though I went off and I sprayed the first coat of paint. I came back, but this time I've got a clock. Now I know that the paint takes 20 minutes to set. That's going to be at 3 o'clock. It's need time to let the dog out as well. So I think, okay, I'm going to respray it at 3 o'clock. Then I go away and do exciting things. I don't have to sit here and wait and twiddle my thumbs. I go and make some exciting steampunk machines. Keep coming back. Come back. Is it 3 o'clock? No. Okay, I can carry on with making exciting things. Then I come back and look, it's a little bit after 3 o'clock. Great, I can spray another coat of paint on. Come back, wait another, add a sort of another 20 minutes or whatever. That's the idea. So let me show you how I used them, the not very good version and the good version, the 2 different sketches. There are 5 arrays. The first 4 tell it where to position each of the fret carriages for each note, and the bottom one tells it how long to play that note for. That's the same on both. So moving on, here we are. Here's the first version. I set the beat length to 150 milliseconds for argument's sake. Again, no one's written any instructions on how to get a ukulele playing machine playing, so I've got to figure it out as I go along. So it reads the position of all the frets, and then it sets the frets, checking if they need to be moved or not. And then once the frets are all set, then it plucks the right notes, depending whether they've been set or not. And finally, there's the delay there. Beat length times the beats. So a quaver was 1, crotchet was 2, etc, etc. So it just waits. Once it's waited, it then jumps back to the beginning there. Problem is, sometimes the frets take longer, the carriages, to move where they need to go. If it's right at the other end of the fret, it's going to take a while. And then it all sounds pretty horrible, because it is just a case of using, in effect, an egg timer to time it blindly. Right, on to the next version, the super improved one. Now this time I've got a function called play tune. There's the beat length, and this function basically reads through the arrays as before, but as it reads through, it reads the beats and it saves that to the millis. Now millis basically records the time in milliseconds since the Arduino was switched on, so it is like a clock. So it reads the millis and then it adds the beat length and times the beats, whatever else. Half of it though, dear friends, and it saves that. It's called millis. Then it does it with the other half, pluck millis, because I realised that it could spend half the time actually setting the next chord up after it had plucked. So what it does then, after that, it then sets the chord, it jumps, it calls the set chord function, which is exactly like the one before, but it doesn't pluck a note straight afterwards. It then waits until the time is right, until half of the beat has gone by. And that's the great thing about it, because it's basically, while millis, which is the current time, is smaller than the chord millis that we recorded, that we remembered, it's not doing anything. I know it. There are lots of other ways of doing it, but this is just the next step in it. It's not very elegant, that, but never mind. So it just waits, in effect, like a delay, but then, you know, live and learn. It waits for half the time, then it jumps to pluck note, and then it plucks the note using another function that I wrote, basically the other part of the original, and then again it waits the other half of the note duration. So that's brilliant, because if the set chord takes ages to set, and then it reaches this and says, oh, hang on a minute, it's gone past the time we need to wait, let's go straight on to pluck the note, and then that's going to wait until, is it time? Yeah, that's time. So if it's short, doesn't matter. If it takes ages to set all the frets, it doesn't matter. And it has made such a difference. It is so exciting doing something like this. As I say, there's no one's written any instructions on how to get a ukulele machine playing using software and things. It is fascinating. I've always loved this sort of thing. I remember when I was doing my foundation course, in fact it might have been in sixth form when I was at school, and I had a ZX Spectrum, and for some reason I'd managed to scan in, I think it was the only clear picture I'd found, a picture of Cliff Richard, and analysed it with a grid, and then turned each pixel, sort of judging it by into a colour, and then getting the Spectrum to print out on those really long silver strips of paper that it actually burnt off to get a black colour with a sort of stylus that went across. I was fascinated by it then. That was really early days of computing. And just the fact that, okay, a musician, well, you just strum, whatever. But what does strumming look like when you're turning it into timing and things like that? It is fascinating. It really is. I love it. And I'm so pleased that this is such an improvement on the previous one, because I have absolutely no idea whether it's going to improve it or not. Anyway, stop talking and get on with it. In fact, I think it is now 3 o'clock, so I better take the dog out. More horns, you say? Beautiful shiny horns. And what's this? Even smaller shell lamps? Well, someone contacted me, having seen the larger shell lamps that are about an inch, 2 inches tall, roughly 50mm tall, with built-in LEDs, to say that she had an old Victorian model puppet show theatre type thing. Beautiful. She sent me a photo, absolutely gorgeous it is. And it was missing any sort of footlights, and she saw these and said, would it be possible to make smaller ones, to print smaller ones? I said, I'll give it a go. So sans LEDs at the moment, but I've shrunk them down. Wonderful 3D printing, and a wonderful 3D printer, as you know, because I fixed it last time and it works beautifully. Look at this. I found the best way, if I printed them flat like this, it couldn't resist leaving, I don't know whether you can see that, little blobs on the top, where it was finally finished printing and it lifted off, and that was annoying. So I found that by printing them on a raft, and this is something else I'd never tried, angling something like this, because normally there's a function where, well, I can't remember what it's called, but it basically, if you've got something up in the air, it flattens it and it sits it flat. And I thought, I wonder what happens if I just have it floating in the air, export it as an SDL from 3D Builder, and then import it into the slicer software that came with the Ender Pro Plus. What would happen? And I went for the option of adding a support structure to it, and it printed beautifully. And because I've now got it printing this angle, it leaves a titchy little bit just down right at the bottom, and the rest of it's beautiful. I see, beautiful. So I've printed 5 of those, and I'm now looking, because she did then ask about whether it's possible to have some LEDs to have them illuminated as well. So I'm just sorting that out at the moment. Anyway, oh look, there's some music when I'm cleaning windows. One thing I'm going to do this very evening, and it's Friday, so a little bit of self-medication will go on, and then hopefully I'll be able to record my wife singing when I'm cleaning windows in the style of Victoria the Automaton to the music that's now properly timed on the ukulele playing machine. Heaven knows, once I've got her recorded, that will gee me on to the next stage, and I won't start going into that, but needless to say, walking the dog in the park, tons and tons of ideas, overcomplicating absolutely everything. Now, these horns, what are they for, I hear you cry? Well, they're for more of these. The heraldic clarion door horn. Every self-respecting steampunk house should have one. I got bored not being able to hear the doorbell, so I thought I'd use the same size cabinet as I use for the Nepnet Thrubwell and the pump and things to have an air horn doorbell, or a door horn as we say in the trade. And I've just run out. I made 6 just before Christmas and they've all gone, which is lovely. So I'm making 6 more. They've got 1 packaged up. They're almost ready, and I'm just installing the horns. They just push into an eel and then get clamped into place with beautiful brass Munson rings, and I'm testing each one. In fact, let's test this one. I think I've got batteries in it. 1, 2, 3. Oop. That's definitely working. So that's about 90 decibels. And I love, in the end I put one in our hall because I could never hear the doorbell, and I love the fact that you can hear the doorbell wherever you are, or the door horn. And if it's too loud, you can cram a handkerchief down the top to reduce the volume. Right, I'll get on and finish that. Get my wife to record when I'm cleaning doorbells. When I'm cleaning doorbells. When I'm cleaning windows, get her to record that tonight, hopefully. And then I'll get in touch with you, get back to you when I've actually got her singing along to it, hopefully. And then I'll discuss, ridiculousness. Because, I can't resist talking about it when it's so much thought. Because the fact is, as with all old music machines, you want some way of being able to change what it plays. And in the old pianolas, they had punched paper reels, tape reels of paper punched with holes that you could put on and it would play different tunes. I want something like that. I am not happy with having a pen drive, a pen drive you say, that you plug in that has everything really simply recorded with all the notes and all the other data and everything. No. If it's steampunk, it needs to be reminiscent of the Victorian era. Now I did think about having a reel-to-reel tape, like quarter-inch tape, like the old 1960s, 70s reel-to-reel before cassettes came along. And that would be fairly simple-ish, but again, that's too modern as well. So now I'm thinking about going for a vinyl record, because I found a company that you can send an audio track off to, and they will actually turn it into a proper vinyl record that will play on a record player. And I'm thinking about, because it's stereo, obviously, one channel can have Victoria the Automaton's voice, singing voice. The other one will have the data to set the chords, the frets, the fret carriages, and to which strings to pluck and when. And I'm thinking currently the best way of doing that is to use if you had an old Spectrum computer, Sinclair Spectrum, when you loaded up a bit of software, you'd put a cassette in a cassette player, press play, and you get this really high-pitched whizzing noise. Very, very much like the early days of the internet. Not that early, but when you used to use phone lines to connect to the internet. That sort of noise, because noughts are binary, so noughts are represented by a short pulse or a long pulse, and then vice versa for ones. And when you string them all together, it's then fairly easy to decode them, and that's fast enough, I think, to set everything up. But stop it, that's another story for another day. One thing at a time. Let's finish packaging up the heraldic clarion door horns and I'll get back to you. It's all so exciting. Who would have thought that the music for a very famous song performed on the ukulele and human voice by a very gifted and talented performer would pose any problems at all for two musically ignorant people? Who would have thought? So what I'm going to have to do is to split the soundtrack, the recorded ukulele, into little blocks, choruses and various verses, and then have another go and see if my wife can get that recorded. So that's on hold. So, what are we going to do today? Well, I'll show you. I've done some calculations with the wonderful Ohm's law, and unsoldered some of these really small surface mount LEDs to fit on. I'll put them on a little bit of board with a resistor, current limiting resistor, to fit in the wonderful new, very, very small shell lamps. So there we are. I've put a blob of hot melt glue in there. If this works, because obviously this is a prototype, then I'd redesign the 3D print so it's actually flat inside, so I can just glue them on with super glue, obviously. But for now, I've put a blob of hot melt glue. I was experimenting with it last night, because hot melt glue is obviously melted glue. Oops, not melted glue, melted plastic. There's the plastic. It melts at about 180 degrees centigrade, and theoretically, where's that gone? It's the carpet. Oh, look, carpet of invisibility failed. PLA melts at 215, so it's getting fairly close. It did soften it a little bit, but I just put a small blob in just to fill the base, and then I can use a little bit more hot melt glue just to stick each of these. They all run off this 3 volts, 2 AA batteries. I did the calculations, it's amazing. 2 good quality alkaline AA batteries, Duracell in this case, will run 5 LEDs for 60 hours. Amazing. Well, you can see how they've arranged them. Right, I'll get them fixed in and I'll get them sent off. And then the project for today is to get on with auto tuning. If you remember, I'd got these 2 motors wired up and linked up to there, but there's nothing this side. It's very dark over here. So I've been thinking about how to mount 2 more of the stepper motors to control the 2 tuning prong things on this side. And I've come up with a cunning plan. Here's the scribulator. It's Monday the 9th of January, who would have thought? I do like this arrangement. These are cut out and engraved from 10mm acrylic. There's a front bit and it's big enough to support one of the little stepper motors. In this case, it's got a PIR sensor here, but I'm going to replace that with one of the windows so I can see when the stepper motor is working inside. Houston, we have a problem. Just when I thought we were getting there. What's happening? Because I was concerned about the music. It seemed, when my wife tried to sing it and I've tried to sing it, it didn't seem quite right. So what I did, I dropped it into the wonderful Audacity software, free to use, amazingly powerful. So powerful, I never remember how to use it. Every time it's a new learning curve. So there's the original, and here's a metronome that's created by it. Now if we play that... So what's happening is, it's very interesting, you can see each of the chords as it's lines up. These are quavers, so these are crotchets, so it's once every 2. Absolutely perfect. Then you get to 2 quavers, it plucks it too soon. Now I've ummed and ahed about that. I can't, unless I manage to create a ukulele playing time machine, I really don't understand how that can pluck sooner because of all the delays that I've explained. I haven't got a clue. Fascinating though, and I'm really pleased to have found out why it wasn't sounding quite right. So that's fascinating because that explains why the rhythm wasn't quite right and my wife couldn't sing it properly. And that follows her adage that if at first you don't succeed, give up. It set her in very good stead. I remember when she decided to learn to play the guitar. And her reason was that so many people play it, it can't be that difficult. So, you know, she got the book, didn't need any sort of professional music teacher or anything, and consequently learned how to play Kumbaya, that's it, which involved strumming random chords with random timing and belting out as loud as she could the words to Kumbaya, trying to drown out the sound of the guitar. Thankfully and mercifully, it was a very short-lived hobby, and the computer says, D, 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 D. It's still not doing it. It's still starting too early. That should be there. And it's not. It's as though it's working backwards because the end of that sort of quavers lines up with there. But I don't understand. That should be lagging that way, if anything. How it's starting earlier, I don't know. Back to the drawing board. Interesting cacophony going on. I've got two barometric prognosticators, the original one and one that a customer has ordered that I'm testing. So that's interesting, each time they play a tune based on the weather. Oh my godfathers, it's several, I don't know, an hour later. I've tried rewriting the code using the loop, which is far better. So now the loop waits for the millis to have exceeded whatever and then does it, so it's whizzing round so it can do other jobs while it's waiting, and it still didn't work. I've finally sorted it out. Time shift, dear friends, time shift. Each one of these had so long, half a note beat, to set this chord up. So it was setting them up and then playing for the other part of the remaining, for the rest of that note. So it was going through perfectly until here, of course, and then it had half the time to set this up, so it appeared to have jumped backwards, where in fact it wasn't. So my battery's about to go flat. I will do some experimenting. I thought I was going out of my mind. I just could not figure it out, and I was getting it to print milliseconds on the sketch so that I could actually check it. Oh, it's one of those fascinating things. It's always far more fascinating once you've solved it, but you know that it's your fault. It's not anything else. So thankfully I finally got there. I need a standard length of time for each of these notes to set itself up. Okay. I am so happy that is working. I cannot tell you that it's now, you can hear the difference, you really can. I'll follow the notes with you so you can see. Give me a moment. This is the other thing that I've done to get ready for my wife recording it. I could have used Audacity to edit the audio clip and add bits and pieces, but as I was saying, it's so complicated it would take me ages to work out how to use it again. I know it could, but I'm just using the video editing software. So I've just dropped the audio on and then found some sound effects and just keep dropping them on each time another verse starts. Let's just listen to the introduction so you can hear what I mean. So there's the whole song. Oh, there's another one coming up. So that's my phone. Nothing to do with it. So yeah, there's the whole song, and there's the musical bit in the middle, the interlude. So I'm very pleased with that. The problem is though, my poor wife has now come down with flu. I've tried. Hang on a minute. Let's just stop this. I've tried. I thought while I was walking the dog this morning, why not try and use Audacity to speed your voice up, and then I can sing it and change it to sound like a female automaton. And this is why it's not going to work. I'm sorry to say, but I think I'm going to have to stop this video now. It is getting far too long. I've just uploaded all today's video clips to the editing software, and it's about 40 or 50 minutes long. Do let me know in the comments if you'd like slightly longer videos. I always try and keep them to about 20 minutes by ruthless editing to hopefully make everything a bit more interesting. And sadly, you know, I hope this video would end with Victoria the automaton singing along, but it wasn't to be. My poor wife is feeling even worse. She's lying in bed upstairs. It's awful. So that'll have to wait till next time. I'm looking forward to it though, don't get me wrong. I won't show you Victoria the automaton sitting by the machine because that'll mislead you, although I might show you her sitting in a box that she's been sitting in for about a year or two. Poor thing. Anyway, as always, please leave any comments, questions, queries in the comments. I'm always happy to help and hope to see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to click subscribe and all the other bits and pieces. Thanks again. See you next time.